I was born on January 19th, 1984, and October 4th, 2011 was to be the day of my death. I'd remembered the last time it happened so vividly that it became my truth, my reason for living, my guiding light, my every step on the way to the very edge of reality. Janis Joplin, January 19th, 1943 to October 4th, 1970. I remembered the last time it happened oh so vividly. The room at the Landmark Hotel. I remembered the lobby. I remembered the duality of what it felt like to be a woman of power. And I remembered the spiritual struggle. But above all, I remembered the loneliness. I spent about a decade living my every day with this as my reality, and these songs are the result of that. There's no question during these times whether or not I should or shouldn't have believed this. It just was what it was, and that's all. It took me a few years to get back to what I used to do best, learning to use my new masculine vocal cords, instinctually picking up an old guitar, and honing my songwriting, all of which seemed to come as naturally to me as breathing. If my dear Janis had her reasons for singing the blues, I sure as hell did too. My childhood was one of extended abuse in various forms, and this was one of the driving forces behind my early musical development. Music became the only thing for me to hold on to, and the only method by which to express these demons inside of me. Demons that were once so pristine and angelic. Demons that were only so because they dared question their creator. Janis understood me. She cried and screamed her way all the way from little old Port Arthur, Texas, into the legendary pages of rock and roll history. There's no other way I can say it, and there's nothing glorious about how that feels. Being remembered and admired for how you cried and screamed in anguish, out of loneliness and self-prosecution, being misunderstood and having more love to give than anyone else could, but not getting even a quarter as much back unless you're on stage. That's where those songs of hers came from, and there ain't nothing glorious about falling that damn hard. But well, we give her a sparkly metaphorical crown to wear, and then we slap some label on it, calling her some polished up cellophane-wrapped late 20th century version of the blues. And now you've got a new icon to worship, and she got robbed of her life. But you know what? Time passes and shrugs off the fads of youth that come and go, and that's all there's to it in the end. Time is your dated aunt who still wears her sweater with the shoulder pads. Time is your hip grandpa who refuses to stop wearing his suspenders. Time is the crying stoned homeless beauty queen who found a nice dress at the Salvation Army. Janis Joplin saved my soul in the hardest of my days. She gave me her own dreams and helped me find a voice of my own to express them by. We were born on the same day, and in return for her gift, I promised I'd depart on the same day as she did. But she would have none of that. October 4th, 2011, I stood by the edge of the Verrazano, one of the bridges in Brooklyn, New York. I had just finished recording a new album the night before, Un Chanson d'Amour, and the only track left to do was the instrumental finale left for the other musicians to finish up. Recording this album had been a heartbreakingly long and arduous journey, and at the end of it, I had every intention of fulfilling my destiny as I had imagined it to end for over 10 years. But it was on this day that Janis stopped by one last time to remind me of things and set the record straight. She came and told me that in the end, it wasn't about the music. It wasn't about being the rock star. It wasn't about the 20,000 fans. In the end, it was about falling flat on your face in between a nightstand and your grimy bed and lonely as fuck and high on a shitload of heroin in a crappy hotel room somewhere in California. You've got a chance to make it better, man. Fuck all of this rock and roll mumbo jumbo. It's time for us to move on. I've already been through this exit, she said. And so I did. I was raised up, torn and abused. Grew up drugged up and confused. Ended up being my own worst enemy and my worst, most dreaded foe. And though the loneliness of being the jaded hero is something which haunts me very much still in some way or another, just as I too have been to the brink of madness and bathed in the pool of salvation so many times I've lost count, I chose to make October 4th, 2011 my turning point. The day I chose to want more from life. It was the day my rock and roll nightmare shed its last breath. The day my most ambitious work to date, a chanson d'amour, was completed. And the day I chose to grow up. My only aspirations now are to find a good life with a few people around who know what love means. These songs, these time capsules of emotion, I leave them with you now so that perhaps another wandering soul might come along one day and find in them the comfort and salvation I found in my spiritual predecessor's work. The story that became a chanson d'amour isn't so very far from the truth at all. These days I'm just me, even though sometimes it still takes me quite a bit of efforts to keep it that way. I'm done with all of that now, and I'm done with these songs too, and they're all yours now. I'd rather be free of these shackles, and I don't really care to be reminded. Because every moment from here on in forward is a moment that Janis never had, and I, Amadeo Leonardus Gauthier, do. Goodbye, Janis, baby. Take good care of yourself.